I've heard that comments
Wow.
enough, and it's with my head enough that I like dress like a homeless person on YouTube now.
You have a good idea. Like somebody else is trying to do it. That means that there's a need there.
Yeah.
That means that there's a gap and it's being filled and you're part of filling it.
I knew I was a talented performer. What I did not know is how the business of being an actor involves so many more things than acting.
There's a lot of things that even if you plan it, it's going to go differently and you're going to have to react in the moment anyway.
To me, dirty talk can just be like saying vulnerable things or like saying something you want.
Now everybody's a light. Guess what? That means nobody's a
Ew.
light.
I feel
And
like people are really hooking up at the rock climbing gym.
it's a sexy place. Hey, welcome back. We're Not For Everyone. I'm Jess. That's Caroline. It's a podcast hosted by a hater and a lover. And I'm immediately hating and loving. I'm immediately fired up. I'm feeling a lot of emotions.
Oh, shit.
I just came across this DM we got a while ago that I meant to talk about, and I don't have all of it. Essentially, with this message, I'm not even going to read it all because it's long. I'm just going to explain what the what to do is. This person has this idea to start a art school for kids to show them like all the opportunity that there is in the art field and really foster their creativity. And they have a lot of experience and expertise in this field, and then also have been doing a lot of like research and preparation and planning in order to open this business. And literally like months before they were gearing up to start opening and running these classes for kids, they saw an Instagram account in their region, which is like a really small region, um, saying art classes for kids coming soon. And immediately they're feeling like, oh gosh, my idea has been taken. Like, I wanted to be the first. I thought I was going to be the first. Now there's somebody else doing this in the same area. Like, should I even proceed? I'm feeling anxious about it and maybe feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome. And their message was long, so that's why I would rather just describe it that way. But
Yeah.
um, I just related to it a lot. Like, I know that feeling, and also I have feelings on like doing it anyway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
What are your thoughts so far?
Oh my God, I have so many thoughts. I might end up ranting for a moment.
Please, I want to drink my coffee.
Okay, is this a safe place for me to say a lot of words in a row?
Yeah.
Okay, dog, here we go, motherfuckers. First of all, let me tell you what. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Having the idea is dope, whether it's for a book, a movie, a restaurant, a shop, an experience, an art class. Ideas are a dime inventions. You meet people all the time who are like, I thought up that, I think. Ideas are a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And having the idea is that's a start, and it means almost nothing. So that's good. That's actually good news for this person. The fact that somebody else opened up an art class for kids doesn't mean it's going to be good, doesn't mean it's going to be quality,
Right.
doesn't mean that like you can't have another one. First, I'll say art classes for kids, it's not a new idea. This definitely, I'm going to say there's probably others in the area. You can put a new spin on it, or you can make it really meaningful or quality or accessible in a different or new way. Of course, you can always do that. But to me, immediately, I don't want to say immediately, yes, you have to do it. Like, there's probably some research to be done to understand, things like demographics in the area, how many like young families and kids are looking into this. If that is a real new business, first of all, it was just an Instagram post they saw, but if it is a
Mm-hmm.
real business, how is their business doing? If it's doing well, take some notes. What do you want to add to it? If it's not doing well, take some notes. Why isn't it doing well? But to me, like, ideas are a dime a dozen, and a lot of people start with an idea and they can't execute on it long term. Lots of people
Mm-hmm.
try to open up an Italian restaurant, and that doesn't mean, like, most restaurants fail. Inventions, books, podcasts. Here's a great example. Okay.
Great example.
Great example to me. People say all the time, oh my God, podcasting, it's so oversaturated. It's so oversaturated. Podcasting oversaturated. That means there are a lot of podcasts out there. Totally. It does not mean there are a lot of good podcasts out there. And the way that I know that is actually not a biased, I think my podcast is great and no one else's is. The reason I know there aren't a lot of good podcasts out there is because despite there being a million podcasts and new ones every day, anytime I talk to someone I know, they say, I have nothing to listen to. I have
Hmm.
nothing to listen to. Same with YouTube. There are so many YouTube channels. And every time I talk to people, even people who are deeply embedded in YouTube, they say, I have nothing to watch. That's why I know it's not oversaturated, as opposed to, I think a good like foil example is Instagram, TikTok. There's too much to watch. There's so much stuff that's entertaining. It's overwhelming, and those platforms for content creators are known to be really oversaturated and really really hard to break through because there actually is a lot of quality, quote unquote, when you're talking about entertainment. YouTube and podcasting, in my opinion, very very different because every time I talk to somebody, they say I have nothing good to listen to. Recommend a podcast to me, recommend a YouTube channel to me.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in quality reigns supreme. Not 100% of the time, not 100% of the time, but like 95% of the time. If you can work on doing the quality version of your business, you have a fighting chance. That being said, there are so many other like business market investigative things that you need to do in order to responsibly decide to open up your business. I'm not well versed in that, so I'm not going to pretend I know what you need to look into. But the fact that someone else opened up an art class for kids, which is like one of the number one ways you entertain kids, that to me has like no bearing on whether you should pursue your
Yep.
idea, especially if you have all this experience, expertise, education in that arena. Most likely you can do it a very specific, very meaningful way. Yeah.
Most likely that's the reason that you were gonna start this in the first place. Like, it wasn't just art classes for kids. I'm sure it wasn't because, like Caroline's saying, like, that's a thing. That's already a thing. Maybe in your area there's not as much of it. Maybe there's a big opportunity. I'm not invalidating the worth of the idea, but you must have had a specific reason, a specific angle, a specific expertise that you were going to bring to it, and you're still going to bring that. And this other class, this other studio, this other school, whatever it is, they might have their own approach to it. So I still think um like there was a reason you wanted to do this, and it's because you're bringing something specific to it, and so you can't lose sight of that just because like a competitor arrives and maybe gets ahead of you on it. I would also look at that as like it's so easy to look at that and feel attacked and feel like threatened.
Totally.
But it's
Totally. Yeah.
actually such good validation that you have a good idea. Like somebody else is trying to do it. That means that there's a need there.
Yeah.
That means that there's a gap and it's being filled and you're part of filling it and this other team is part of filling it too. And like that validates your idea. I totally agree. You can study what they're doing and see, what your differentiators are and like really hone in on those things and how you market yourself. I also think that depending on what they do and whether it aligns well to what you're planning on doing, you could even try to like partner on certain events. Like you can make your competitors friends in
Hmm.
certain ways, the same way that on podcasts you see people collabing with each other, on YouTube you see collabs. It's technically they're a competitor in that they're like doing the same thing for the same market, whatever. But there's so much opportunity to like there's power in numbers and like do things together to really prove that there's like, hey, pay attention to what's happening over here.
Yeah.
So I just think this actually means there's a lot more opportunity and there's a benchmark that you can compare yourself against. And yeah, I think it's an asset actually. And if you thought that you were gonna be the first one to do this, you probably weren't going to be the only one. Even if you were the first,
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
was going to come and make a second. The order doesn't really matter, like
Yeah.
inevitably, eventually, there were going to
Agree.
be multiple people doing this once one opened. It's kind of annoying that they got to it first, but let them like test and fail a little bit and then learn from their testing. Like
Such a good
this is a
point.
this is a good thing for you, That's what happens in every single industry. My job
Totally.
is in product marketing at my company, and so much of what we do is competitive intel. There's so many companies that do the exact same thing that my company does, and we're taking notes, studying it, looking at how they talk about themselves, looking at how the people that we might attract to be our customers are slightly different than the ones that they attract to be their customers. And also look for opportunities to be like, hey, we're actually doing this one thing the same way. Maybe there's a lot of kids who want to go to art class. They're not all going to be able to go to that one program and that one school. So
Mm-hmm.
showing that, like, hey, here's another option and here's how I do things a little bit differently. And I have space for this many kids and this many classes and whatever. It's just like growing that field, which you're passionate about. So
Yeah.
it is an opportunity more than a threat.
The one thing that I will also call out that I think is like trips people up a lot when they're starting a business or starting certain careers that kind of operate like a self-employed business is that, and this listener may already know this, but I can't help but call this out in case she's someone who doesn't know this, that okay, you had a great idea or you have a great talent for teaching. A little thumbs up emoji is
I
haunting
know,
me.
it's
That
so
that is
silly.
annoying. That is annoying. I
Why doesn't it work on my side?
don't know. You got inferior thumbs, dog.
Poop. My thumbs are poop.
The one thing that's occurring to me is if you're really hung up on like, oh, I was going to succeed because I had this idea and the idea is great and I had it before anyone, that makes me a little concerned that you could be overlooking what actually makes a business thrive or
Mm,
die. And I think a lot about like people who open a restaurant. It is really, really hard to keep an independently owned restaurant alive in almost any city, at least in America now. Everything's bought up by private equity and giant corporations and restaurant groups. It's really hard to privately own a restaurant and keep it afloat. Yet people pursue that every single day because when you attend a restaurant, a great neighborhood spot, and you know the people and there's a community and it's a great feel, like it is an amazing experience. And you might know a ton about what makes going to a great restaurant great. You might have a really good vision for it. But what so many people don't know when they go into the restaurant business is what it means to rework the business of running a restaurant.
hmm
I can say this, and that is a completely different experience, and it's a fucking nightmare. The margins are so thin. It's really really stressful. I worked in a lot of restaurants, just as an employee, and so I feel like I got to see that illusion. I was disillusioned that way very quickly. Like I would never fantasize about owning a restaurant. But I made that mistake myself. I think going into acting, which
hmm
isn't really a business in the same way, but you're constantly selling yourself, the business of you, trying to book gigs. It's gig work. You're constantly trying to sell the business of you as a performer. And I knew I loved acting. I knew I was good as an actor. I knew I was a talented performer. What I did not know is how the business of being an actor involves so many more things than acting. The business of running a YouTube channel involves so many more things than talking to the channel or talking to the camera. It involves being a marketer, being the promoter, being a writer, being an editor, being the producer, the networking, brand deals, negotiating, whatever. So reading analytics, becoming a data scientist, like
hmm
there are so many more parts of the business of that work other than just like the raw idea and the raw talent. So I think that it's really easy to not know what the business of something will actually involve. And there's no way to know until you start talking to other people. Like if I were this person, maybe she's already done this, but like for anybody, I would say you have to be interviewing like other small businesses. They don't have to be identical to yours, but like
hmm
some small businesses in the area, some small businesses specifically for kids, some that specifically do art, some that specifically do daycare, or like get a kind of mix that there's a bit of overlap somewhere with each of these to understand the struggles of running that business. Because what's going to make you thrive is understanding those struggles ahead of time, not just that you had an idea to have an art class. Great idea. And that's only like 10% of what's going to make you thrive
Yeah.
or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast where they were talking about this, and somebody was saying, like, oh, I had this idea for this app, And then I found out that it already existed. And how many times has that happened to all of us? And
Totally.
there are
All the time.
hundreds of thousands of apps out there, and they will keep being developed, and some will succeed and some will fail, and we all will
Mm-hmm.
say I had that idea for that app. But do I
Yep.
actually want to be an app developer? Like, probably not. I don't personally, and I've had ideas that I find out are apps, but that's not like what I want. I don't want to run that type of business. I don't want to do that type of work. The
Yeah.
output of it is like something that I would benefit from, and that's why I'm glad that it
The
exists
output.
as a consumer. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the person to develop it. On the flip side, podcasts, I know there's tons of podcasts out there, but not only is the output and like the talking to Caroline, talking to the audience that I enjoy, but I am also enjoying a lot of the background business stuff that we're doing. And that's when you
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel like, okay, I'm in the right spot because I like the whole package. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's
Right.
not stressful and there's not challenges and whatever, but like feeling like I can handle or I want to learn and grow in these ways, or I have a natural aptitude for some of them, or whatever it is, like feeling like the whole package serves you and fits you is so important, especially as somebody who is going to be like self employed or a small business owner or entrepreneur. Like, you're going to be wearing a lot of different hats. And so, knowing that like most of those things are things that you're going to generally like or at least not hate doing, because at the beginning and probably for a while and maybe forever you're going to be the person doing all of those things. Like, eventually, sure, you can probably hopefully hire people to take on certain parts of it, but it's not just
Mm-hmm.
what the output is. It's not just the YouTube channel, it's not
Yeah.
just the podcast, it's not just the app, it's not just the school. It's like all of these, it's not just the restaurant. All of these things that go on in the
Yeah.
background are actually the things that like you're going to spend your day to day on. We
Totally.
record the podcast for an hour, and there's many, many hours in the rest of the week where we're doing the behind the scenes stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the app example is such a good example. And I think it does kind of like make me twitch a little bit when I hear that, when it's like, oh, I had that idea too. Because what I think the person isn't aware is like, okay, so the person who made the app, they also had the idea. But the other things they had was a willingness to learn about how to hire developers, how to manage a team, how to get the best UX, how to figure out what the requirements are to make it onto the app store, how to connect with venture capitalists, how to like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's so like how to market an app, how to compete with the market. Like they had an idea like you did, yes, but they also did and had all these other things. Um, yeah, I really like your term of like it's more than just the output. I think that's honestly like I don't mean to say that I've never made like overlooked this part. I
Mm-hmm.
really specifically overlooked it with acting. I think that was my big mistake. I knew I liked the output of performing, of being in films, of being on stage, of doing comedy. I had experience doing all those and I loved those things. What I liked the final product. But it took me like 10 years to learn that I hated the business of acting. I really, really hated it. Yeah. And I also want to say, like, I really don't want this to be discouraging. I think
Mm.
sometimes you can get it can feel like discouraging to people. And maybe that's good. Like maybe if if Jess was really excited about putting out an app and someone said this to her and she was like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to do any of those things." Then like, cool. That sounds like maybe we saved Jess's time and energy and she can focus on something else she's more excited about, her podcast. But I love to listen and Jess loves to listen to a podcast called How I Built This. And it's all interviews with the founders of various giant companies. And over, I've heard these founders make a comment like, oh, yeah, like if I had known all the
Mm-hmm.
problem solving, all the work ahead of me, everything I was getting into, everything of what this involved. If I'd known that in the beginning, I probably never would have done this. And they always say something like, I was really naive and I'm so glad that I was because I think it was that naivety and that like almost strong-headedness that allowed me to just go a step at a time. And so if you're hearing this and you're like, oh shit, I don't know everything about the market. I don't know everything about budgeting. I don't know everything about managing. That's okay. That's not a requirement. I
Mhm.
think just being like aware that there's going to be lots of things you don't know and lots of different problems to solve other than this one. Um, if you're down with that, then you can figure out the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to know it all.
I'm glad you said that because that was another thing I wanted to say in response to this DM. I think some of what we've said is relevant to the person that wrote in, some of it is not. So just to be clear, like this has become a bigger conversation. If this
Yeah,
isn't
which is why that's why we chose it because I think it's a
right,
bigger conversation for lots of people, not this one
right.
person.
Exactly, exactly. So I just don't want that person to be listening and being like, well, that's not me. Like we're talking in general.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing I did want to say is that they alluded to the fact that they're such a planner and they really like to like do their research first and make a plan for everything before launching. And I was just having this conversation with a friend, actually someone we went to high school with, I was catching up with, and she's starting to venture into self-employment and like freelance work, and she's building a website and she's thinking about scoping her services and all these things, and it's awesome and she's excited and energized by it, and so go her. But while I was listening to her talk about it, I also was like, something I've learned from Caroline actually is like you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to plan everything first. Like there's a lot of things that even if you plan it, it's going to go differently and you're going to have to react in the moment anyway. And I think there's a tendency in a lot of like high achieving women, perfectionists, like
Totally,
that sort of
totally.
thing to like want to, and people also who have been in, like for me, people who have been in the corporate world for a long time and are used to like, okay, we do an analysis, a current state assessment, and then we create a project plan, and then we like test, and then we do this, and then we measure. Anyway, so it's just like I've been indoctrinated into this way of thinking that like you always have to do all your research and plan first. And something that the podcast has helped me learn and working with Caroline has helped me learn and like doing something more creative has helped me learn is that that can honestly like be getting in your own way. There's some level of planning that can be helpful, but you can also kind of do it as you go. You should always be learning. I think learning and doing your research and talking to people and asking good questions and being curious, like that should always be happening. And hopefully, if you're building a business and it's something that you're passionate about, you're going to be naturally curious and naturally learning all the time and wanting that type of information all the time. But planning before executing, I think, can hold you back a lot. There's like times when planning makes sense and times when you just have to kind of like start and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens and be ready. Know that it's not going to be anything that you expected and just be ready to react. Trust yourself, have the right people around you, have the right information to support you. Anyway, for what it's worth,
Totally.
that has been like a big shift for me and something that's allowed me to start to be way more creative, start to enjoy the work more. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I used to plan so much that like the enjoyment of it would be eroded because it was like all I'm doing is like creating a plan in a spreadsheet, and what I wanted to do was be creative. And so yeah, you just like don't have to do all that stuff first is I guess the moral of my story here.
I think it's such a good point. I completely agree. I think there is, I mean, I'm so glad that you agree with like that tenant of mine.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it depends on the industry, obviously, and on the business. But basically, yeah, I think there's a huge bell curve. I think there's a bell curve of research and prep. And the peak of the bell curve probably changes depending on the project or the business or the industry. But I've definitely seen people who I'm like, oh, you didn't ask a single fucking question before you did this.
Mm,
Like, this was an avoidable mistake. You didn't do any research. You didn't figure out any of the areas that you're missing knowledge in. And then I've also seen people where they are doing so much prep and so much research and so much planning and trying to perfect and finalize everything that it is actually a form of procrastination. I think you're really right that a lot of women can do it or anybody who's a perfectionist. And what that perfectionism usually is like I am trying to guarantee
Hmm.
zero risk. There is
Mitigate all
zero risk
risks.
anymore. Mitigate all risk, and that's not possible. Like you're starting a
Hmm.
business, there's going to be a risk unless you're just like a trust fund kid. There's going to be a risk that this like death leaves you destitute or doesn't go the way you want. But it can definitely become just procrastination and a fear of starting. The clearest micro example I see all the time is people who ask me about starting a YouTube channel, or I talk to people who want to start a YouTube channel, and they are spending all of their time buying the fanciest equipment, or what's the best equipment, or I need to get this piece and that piece, and I need to make sure it's branded, and I need to hire someone for the logo, and I need to know what all my video content is be. In the meantime, they haven't put out a single video. There is no YouTube channel. And when people do start doing, when they do start actually creating, whatever you imagined from the outset, it changes anyway. I started out doing all room makeovers. I barely do those anymore. And it was like a really solidified idea. And any YouTuber I watch, their content has changed over time. The idea changes. So it's definitely extra true with creative work. But the biggest piece to me is like I see it with when people want to start certain businesses or certain initiatives or hobbies, it's really easy to get caught up in purchasing all the accessories first. That's a
Yeah,
big one. I'm buying all the accessories. I'm getting all the professional stuff. I'm doing all the branding. I'm making sure I know exactly what I'm going to do. And then you actually leave no room for exploration and you haven't even started. So it's probably different for for like a traditional business, but I still think the bell curve is there. And like, are you are you balancing research and prep with embracing risk and getting dirty and like getting going ultimately?
totally. And I do think it's applicable to businesses outside of the creative field because
Totally. Totally.
it's like I liked what you said about like you're planning for something that doesn't even exist yet. And a lot of times when you're launching like a small business or freelance business, like you're going to do some independent consulting in whatever field you're in, um, you want to like come out really professional and polished and like people will take you seriously. And that's a good thing. And like it's good that you're thinking that way. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, there's like you can overdo it and be like, I need all my packages for my services to be cleanly scoped and I need to know the pricing and I need to know how I talk about it. I need to have a pitch
Yeah.
deck and all this stuff. And then you get your first conversation with somebody who might want to buy your services and they say, well, actually, like, I think I really only need like this part and I think my budget's really only this and like blah, blah, blah. But can you work with that? And of course you can work with that because you need business. And so then as you get your first client and start to do the
Yeah.
work, you realize like, oh, this is actually in practice how this stuff happens, what the client needs, what I should do to like appeal to them and support them. And you just like
Yeah.
can't know that without starting to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I appreciate the intention of like, I want to come out and seem really like I have my shit together, but actually you will appear to have your shit together if you're asking the client the right questions and like customizing it to what they need and learning from the experience and then like getting better and better as you go on. Like that is what will make you credible more
Yeah.
than just being a person who like slapped some cute names on some package levels and decided what they want before you even learned what they want. And I that's I guess very specific to um self-employment and freelance, but I think it apply I mean if you're starting a business
No,
and
I
it's like
I
just
think it
you and somebody
applies.
else.
What do people
Yeah.
want? What is your market or audience or clients want? It makes me think of the difference of like pushing forward a new initiative at a giant company versus at a small company. If
Mm,
you've ever worked at like a giant company or known someone who did, like I had friends who worked at Procter and Gamble and they were like, "Oh my fucking God." And this is true for any giant company for the most part. If you want to start a new initiative or a new project, even like a tiny thing, it might not see the light of day for 5 years or more just to then get shut down because these giant companies, they usually end up having lower risk tolerance, and everything does need to be vetted and everything does need to be perfected. And there's a million stakeholders and like there's too much at risk. And so it is really hard to do anything new. It is really hard to try anything innovative. And it just gets harder and harder for the most part. And that's the advantage of being a small company or being one person. You can be agile. You've hopefully minimized your overhead so that you've allowed yourself space to try things without the blowback being too horrible.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So entrepreneurship 101
we don't
complete.
we don't know anything.
We
I'm
don't know
not going to
anything.
pretend like we know anything about your field, but
And I've had a lot of these realizations that I just shared very recently. And like in a year, I could feel differently. You know, like we're on the same journey learning this stuff too. But I do take a lot of like personal interest in this topic and yeah,
yeah.
like listen to how I built this and these other podcasts and try to learn from the experiences of other people who have done things similar to what I'm hoping to do.
I think it
Um,
applies to so many people, whether you're trying to start a hobby or a business or a new initiative, or just starting something new. I think it applies in a lot of areas.
True. It makes me think of um a little bit different, but I had a period of time in college when I really was into rock climbing. And I think it was
Hmm.
mostly because there was a guy that I had a crush on who was really into rock climbing. But I
Checks
would
out.
always go to the climbing gym with him and climb. And I actually got really into it independent of
Yeah.
him and would like go on my own and whatever.
I feel
And
like people are really hooking up at the rock climbing gym.
it's a sexy place.
It is. I feel like it's like rock climbing gyms are like one step below a sex cult. I'm not kidding. That's what it
Yeah.
seems like. Yeah.
I think it definitely attracts like freakier people.
Sexy. So that's not
Obviously,
what I meant. I didn't mean kinky. I just meant like I feel like everyone's there to hook up, basically.
I do. It's a flirty environment because you have to, somebody has to belay you,
Yeah,
belay,
look straight up your
look at your
butthole
butt.
while
Yeah. And
little sister,
like,
look at your butt. Will you look at my butt while I'm on this wall?
right.
I
So
will.
it is like a flirty environment. And yeah, you kind of
Yeah.
have to go with a partner, whether it's a friend or actually a romantic partner or whatever. Um, unless you're doing free climbing, but we're not a climbing podcast. So I'll get back to it. Um, So I got really into it for like a whole semester and I would go a couple times a week. It was my main form of exercise. It was fun, it was flirty, it was kinky. And for Christmas, I asked my parents for rock climbing shoes because I would always rent them at the gym and I had to pay like a couple dollars each time. And I was like, it's better if I just get some. I kid you not, as soon as the rock climbing shoes were gifted to me, I never went again. I never went again. And this has happened with so many hobbies and like
That's interesting.
fleeting interests in my life.
Wait,
I'll
that happened
buy
with me with
something.
squash. That happened with me with squash.
It
Yeah.
happens. It happens like that all the
Once I got a
time.
racket. That's so
I
funny.
used to, in my old apartment building, they had Pelotons in the gym, and it was during COVID. So it was really helpful that I could go to the gym in my building and use a Peloton and like get a workout without having to go to a gym externally or go to a class that would be busy and germ filled. And I got really into Peloton. And so my parents very kindly and generously got me a Peloton for Christmas the next year once I moved out of that apartment and didn't have access anymore. I've used it like 10 times. I debate and I've had it for 2 years or something. I debate every day whether I should sell it. Um,
Interesting. I feel like this is a different dynamic. I don't know what this one is exactly.
I don't know what this one is, but I guess
So
my point is like,
you already had a habit of being into Peloton.
I don't know if it was a habit, but it
Okay.
was, yeah, I don't think it was a habit, but it was something I did relatively regularly for a relatively sustained period of time. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It was
Totally.
probably like a few months that I would go use the Peloton in my gym like once or twice a week.
Okay.
And now that I have one in my apartment, I don't ever use it. I don't know what it is, but it happens. I guess for me, the trend is that it's always like a fitness activity, but I don't think it's only
Yeah.
fitness activities. I think I've seen this with like art hobbies that I've tried to pick up, like a fleeting interest in knitting, a fleeting interest in like drawing. Like I'll just order the stuff and
Yeah.
then be like, yeah, never mind. I think that's what I thought of when you were talking about like you don't need all the fancy equipment. You don't need all the like the best of the best like tools and gadgets and all the planning and all the stuff. You just need to like
Yeah.
start. Sometimes getting the fancy equipment is like scratches the itch and then you just are done right away or
I
something like you
wonder,
didn't
I
actually want to do the thing.
yeah, I wonder if then it makes it feel like an obligation. It's like, well, now I have to because I made this
Maybe,
expensive investment. Blah.
maybe. Yeah. Yeah, it happens to me all the time. So now I
Hmm.
just do things that don't involve any equipment, like sit in my room and think about all my friends. No, I just bought an expensive camera, so that's a whole other thing.
You just bought two cameras,
I just bought two cameras,
but
that's
you
true.
did it a good way. You did it a good way, I think.
It's for our business, and I actually do care. I've been doing this business for over a year now, so I know that it's a legitimate thing.
Yeah. Like when I started on YouTube, I first of all, I didn't or when I wanted to start a YouTube channel, I didn't um once I had the idea, I didn't immediately start it. Like I was terrified. I had to think about it for a long time. I once I like thought I might want to do it, I had to think about it for a year before I had like the
Mm,
guts to start. It felt kind of scary to start. But once I did decide I was ready to start, I got like the cheapest, decent, basic camera that YouTubers recommended. And I was like, God damn it, these thumbs up. And these emojis are like really getting me today. Anyway,
yeah.
watch on YouTube if you want to know what we're talking about. But and I was like, if I do this for a year and then I want to upgrade to a fancier camera, then I can. And that was my rule. Like, there's this concept of the MVP, minimum viable product.
Hmm.
Like, what are the bare minimums you need to get going? And then guess what? I never updated my camera after that. It's the same stupid camera.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, what were
No,
you gonna say? Were you gonna say something else?
no, I wasn't. I
Cool.
reminded myself of that same thing yesterday when I was buying a camera. I was like, there was
Yeah.
one that was going to be like more expensive, but it was supposedly like the best of the best, whatever. But it was out of stock everywhere. And I would have
Yeah.
had to like sell my left breast on eBay to get
Oh,
it or
that's your good
something.
one. That's
I
your
know it
good
is.
one.
It is. It's the bigger one. You
No,
know,
don't
you
give that
always know.
away. You know what's confusing to me? Like I always end up on, I think probably looking for a camera or whatever. You're like, what's the best vlogging camera, right? And
Hmm.
there's a million lists put together on the internet, and the answer is different on all of them. None of
Hmm.
them are even the camera I have. I'm like, it's so hard to get an answer from those lists and stuff. And they're all usually like sponsored by some different
Yep.
company. So it's biased even. I feel like I kind of get so pissed at those lists. The only things I trust now basically are Reddit, you know?
Reddit is where the truth lies.
Reddit is where the truth lies. It's also where the pain lies, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's the truth.
But the pain
Product
is the truth.
reviews, hotel reviews. Yeah.
Wow, I should start using it for things like that too. I
I have
sometimes
for
go
like
there for like tech
hotels.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I've looked before for like, and you don't know who's leaving that review, so you still gotta vet it. But
Right.
at basically every reviewing system online that's associated with any kind of company is
Paid for.
untrustworthy now.
Yeah. Yeah, I was searching cameras exactly looking for those same lists of like best cameras for vlogging and there was this one website which you would think is reputable because the name of it is like buyer's guide or something. Like it seems like, oh, this is it. These are the people that know what the
Yeah.
buyers need to be guided towards. And
Yeah.
it was so interesting because I would search for a camera in Google to like find it on Amazon or at Best Buy or whatever. And then I would search for the buyer's guide and that camera that I had just searched was at the top of their ranking. And then
Yeah.
I'd search for a different camera and go back and click a new link for the buyer's guide and that camera would be the top of their ranking. Like it was
So
dynamic
literally,
with my
literally,
searches.
literally, they would call it number one. Not even
Yes.
just top of the page, but it was enumerated and
Y-
ranked.
Um I don't remember if there was a number, but it
But
was
they
top of the
bumped it to the
page.
top.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't trust any of this. It's so annoying.
Yeah. It was wild.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Programming. What else? What else? Let me
Tell
see.
me something cute. Tell me something sexy.
I wish I had something sexy to say. Oh,
Oh,
I have a complaint.
that's sexy. What are you saying? Yeah.
True. Okay, obviously I watch a lot of reality TV But this isn't a thing that only happens on reality TV.
Okay.
Um, I've noticed an uptick in people calling women a light. Like she's
What?
such a light. There's an uptick. Everybody's a light. Guess what? That means nobody's a
Ew.
light.
I'm
I'm
darkness,
over
dog.
it.
I am over it. No, everybody's a light. Ooh. La, 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 la.
It
That's
makes
like
me
that's like
particularly mad
a
because I
light.
feel like
I've
I've
okay.
gotten that of like not a light because that's vague,
But you
but
light up a room.
you light up a room. Like that's always the thing that my dad told me when I was little, and I've held on to that as like me, not
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
And now
Wow.
every other girly that's on The Bachelor is a light.
You're gatekeeping light, Jess. That's so fucked up.
Light is mine. I have a new ring light. Light is all
Yeah,
mine.
I guess I would just say like I don't believe it's possible that everyone on The Bachelor is a light. Yeah. So it seems
That's
like they've perverted the use of the word for sure.
Yeah, I just realized that I just threw my mic from one hand to the other. And I wonder, Abby, if that is what you were saying that we do, that we
The
don't realize we
wrestle.
do.
Yeah, Abby,
Anyway,
our editor, is trying to figure out what we are doing with our bodies to make some of the background noise that happens in these episodes.
if you all notice that we fidget with our mics, that would actually be helpful information.
Información. Información.
Yeah, so
Somebody
anyway, everybody's a
was it?
light.
Um, my Justin has a roommate who is from Greece. Has never, I think he's never left Greece until like a few months ago. And this is his new roommate. He's studying here. And he's so sweet. He's like the sweetest cutie pie ever. And he's got this really heavy Greek accent. What did he say to me the other day? Speaking of información, that made me laugh so hard. Oh, there's this sound that the way Greeks pronounce kind of a ch and j is
Mm.
really surprising to me. I didn't know. So when he says the word village, he's always talking about his Greek village, and it's like villads or something. It's like a
Oh.
DZ. And then when he says, I think when he says chilling, like I asked him the other day, I was like, "Oh, what are you up to today?" And I think what he said was he was like, "I'm just feeling and socializing," which sounds kind of Russian when I say it now, but it
Hmm.
was, I don't know, it was so fucking cute. I really like, I just, it was a surprise.
Chilling.
It was, I can't even say it. Stealing, it was almost more like a T, chilling
Hmm.
and socializing.
That's cute.
It
Well,
was
I just
so
like that
cute.
that's what he said he was doing, chilling and
Chilling,
socializing.
chilling and socializing. Yeah, it was so cute. Yeah.
Mm, I love those types of things. There's a very common um Arabic, but I think specifically like Lebanese dialect of Arabic pronunciation thing that happens where they have a hard time with P's.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so like the word Pepsi will be said like Bibsy. It's so cute. And it always makes me think of my grandma. She'll be like, "Do you want a Bibsy?" And she's like trying to be American, by offering me a
Oh,
Pepsi, and it's
isn't that
Bibsy.
so interesting? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then is there another one? Well, another one I think of, they kind of have a hard time. Okay. So my sister's name was potentially going to be Caroline.
That
And then
is what? That's shocking.
yeah, it's her middle name. So Caroline is my sister's name is
What?
Caitlin. Her middle name is Caroline.
Oh,
It was potentially going to be her first name,
whoa.
but my dad was like, I can't pronounce that name, so it can't be our daughter's name.
What would he say it? What would he
I
say?
think it's a little bit of like the RO stumps him and it kind of becomes more of a W, like Caroline, like
Caroline.
yeah, like something with his Lebanese accent. I
Oh,
don't think it
sweet.
happens to my mom as much, but yeah, that was gonna be my sister's name, and she's a hater too. So,
She's a total hater. Talk about a hater. She's
hmm.
of my heart, of my heart. My mom sometimes mispronounces my name, or I don't know if it's a pronunciation. It's like she puts on like a British accent sometimes when she's feeling uppity, and she'll be like Caroline, and I'm like, bitch, that's not how you say my name, and that's not even how you talk. And it pisses me off. It pisses me off so much. Some people pronounce their A's that more open way.
Yeah,
Like I have a very
it's very New
squinchy,
York.
I have a very squinchy A, Caroline. Like it's not correct, but that's how we talk in DC,
Caroline.
and that's how my name has always been said. And then every fucking once in a while, she'll be like, Caroline. And I'm like, do you think you're fucking better than me? I know
Right.
what my name is.
It's like the Tara debate,
Yeah.
which isn't a debate. It's just like, how does that person say their name?
She told me, I'm saying it's not a debate. I'm telling you what you
Yeah.
named me and how you've said it to me for 32 years. How
That's
about
the
fucking
thing.
that?
Your
How
mom
about
should know
fucking
it.
that?
Does she
She
say it
should
that
know what
way
she
in
named
certain
me.
contexts, like to certain people, or
I
I
think
guess
she's
just when
being
she's feeling
annoying.
British? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe when she's like trying to impress somebody and she's feeling British.
Yeah.
Caroline.
Caroline.
Like, okay. Well, usually you're screaming it and it doesn't sound like that. So no. Who are you trying to impress?
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're not familiar with BetterHelp, it's an online therapy platform that can help match you with a therapist that's right for you. Everybody's therapy journey is so personal, and that's what's great about BetterHelp. It's convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule, and it's really just a great way to get your feet wet if you've been thinking about starting or going back to therapy.
I mean, obviously, everybody knows Jess and I are obsessed with therapy. We won't stop talking about it. A few months ago, I was looking for a new therapist through my insurance, and I think I talked about it on the podcast. It was like pulling teeth to find a therapist, get an appointment, and God forbid I'd been in like a serious acute mental health crisis. I don't know how anyone in that position can be expected to connect with professional help for themselves. So what I do really love about BetterHelp is that they make it ridiculously easy to get connected with a therapist.
Totally. We love therapy. I honestly don't think this podcast would exist if not for therapy. Not only do we reference it all the time, but I just don't know that I'd be able to show up and be so expressive and so comfortable and so honest if I hadn't been in therapy for all these years. And I think that applies to any job or any relationship. Like, we just want to show up and be ourselves. And that is a lot harder than it sounds. I think if you listen to this podcast, then you know that very well. And so do we. And therapy is what we owe for getting a little bit closer to finding that sweet spot. So find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp.
You can visit betterhelp.com/notforeveryone today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/notforeveryone.
Okay. Do you want something like sexy, or do you
Yeah.
want something?
I said, yeah.
Okay.
I said yes. Did I stutter?
Okay, but let me clarify that I'm not about to say anything sexy. I'm going to propose to you that you fill in the content for this topic area that is sexy. Okay.
I'm prepared to be sexy for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I thought that it would be helpful for me,
Uh-oh.
but also for everyone, maybe, but mostly for me to have like, this is going to be a lot, I think,
Oh, shit.
to have like a little workshop on how to talk dirty,
Mm.
dirty talk
Are you
and
asking me
sex.
as like my expertise?
I don't know if that's something you do. Maybe we'll start there. Is it something you do or want to do or
Yeah, I
feel
guess.
particularly
Yeah.
proficient at?
I don't know if I feel proficient at it. I think I guess I dirty talk. Yeah, but I also think that to me, dirty talk isn't like, ooh, I'm gonna rub your face in my poop. It's more just like saying, to me, dirty talk can just be like saying vulnerable things or like saying something you want. Literally saying I want to, and then
Yes.
literally describing an act. That's dirty talk. Like it doesn't have to be, it's really not that complicated.
Yeah.
Is how
That
I feel.
that clicked for me recently, and it is very
Yeah.
helpful to just say I want to or I want you to,
Yeah.
or just like
Basically,
describe things. But it's
yeah.
always been
Oh
I'm
yeah, you
always
just
wondering
describe
if I'm
things.
doing it right, you
Oh,
know?
with that, there's no right. I mean, does it feel sexy? Does it excite you guys?
I think so. Maybe I'm
Interesting
talking
that
to
you
the wrong
don't.
person.
What do you mean? Yeah,
Maybe I should ask
maybe.
my boyfriend.
I mean, I
No,
can
I've
start
not
having
gotten
more
any
sex with you.
complaints, but
Interesting.
I I think I
Yeah.
want to just like get more. Okay, I do it and I think it like is sexy and it works, but I still feel a little unconfident about it, even
Okay.
though nothing about what's happening
Yeah.
is demonstrating that I should be not confident about it, but I just feel awkward about it anyway. So
Why? Like awkward
maybe
how
that's it.
like you Can you say
You
more?
become such a different person when you're having sex sometimes.
Totally. Totally.
And I think that's what it is like I was just saying that 5 minutes
Yeah.
ago when we were having sex, and now I'm like going to fold my laundry and have a
Yeah.
lemonade. Like, which I guess is hot,
I think it's
maybe.
fun. I think it's
Yeah.
so fun that it's so different. And the rules, to me, it's like kind of beautiful that if you're with someone who agrees to like the safety of this place,
Yeah.
it's like the special place we get to go emotionally, mentally, physically, where yeah, you kind of get to be a different person. Like I think I shared this with Justin recently. I am and always have been a pretty self-doubting person, and I have always felt like kind of unblinkingly confident in the bedroom. Not like an amazing master of sex or like I know this is the best sex you've ever had. Not like that. Just like I don't doubt myself there.
Mm.
And it's such a weird thing because I think it's the inverse of what a lot of people feel, but it's also mostly it's just like it's just such a stark difference in my own personality. And I think yeah, I don't know why. I don't think you need to figure out why you have this like other persona there. Like everyone kind of does. And I think
Yeah.
that's really fun. And then you walk away from it and you're like, it was weird that I said that like
Yeah.
earlier. That was weird.
Yeah. Okay. I just needed to make sure that that's how other people feel about it because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
with so many of these things, it's like, okay, so I definitely have felt the inverse of what you just said. Like in general in my life, I'm relatively like confident or whatever, or at least, I don't know, day to day, I don't struggle too much with self-confidence. But
Yeah.
then in the bedroom, historically, I have definitely struggled with that. And
So relatable.
I
So
like now
relatable.
am in a relationship that makes me feel like safe and I can be myself and I've explored and tried things and stuff a lot more than I have in the past, but I still can't get over that little weirdness of like, oh, that was weird when I did that and now I'm going to work like and that is fun and sexy, but I
Yeah.
guess I wanted to confirm that other people aren't just like
Oh,
walking away from that and being like, yeah, like I said that and now I will remain that person for the rest of the day.
totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. It's like it doesn't even, in a way, it's like it doesn't even mean anything. Like one of the
Right.
things, I don't know if either of us want to give details. I don't feel like super comfortable exposing details, but there's I feel like I can take on a totally different persona, and I've named for myself something I like is that I never see it elsewhere, and sometimes it scares the shit out of me or like it's shocking. But that's something that makes things feel new. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but I think it's really,
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah. I think I have to get to know my person, who that person is in the
Your your
bedroom,
your
my
like
own.
alternate, yeah, what's it called?
Yeah.
Like alternate
Alter
personality.
ego or
Alter
whatever.
ego. Yeah, alter
Yeah.
ego. It's like Beyonce and your Sasha Fierce.
I know. And I have
Yeah,
identified with that. But
totally. I think that's relevant.
I think sex wise, I don't know. There's just something I'm just like consistently realizing that I've gotten so much more comfortable and confident, but there's
Yeah.
still like more I want to go further with that and with how I show up and how much more confident I can be.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out like this gap. I don't know. I want it to stay interesting. I want it to stay fun. And I don't want to like fall into doing the same things every time, even though it's good and enjoyable and whatever. I want to
Yeah.
push myself a little bit to like try something new and like explore this alter ego even further. And yeah, I don't know how to get to know her, but I think it's helpful to even just think of her as different from me.
Oh yeah.
And maybe
I
that
don't
will unlock
yeah.
something more. I don't know.
I don't think you have to think too hard about
I'm
it.
thinking
Like
too much about it.
what's her name? Or I just mean like thinking too hard about like what does this mean about me? Not much.
Right.
Like I think Esther Perel has some great quotes about like most of us most of us fantasize about like sexual dynamics or actions or words that are the same things we protest against during the day. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't have to mean all this deeper shit about you or what your values are or what you want. It's like for most people, what sexually excites you is often something forbidden, something shocking, something off the table. That's actually really standard. It's very,
Totally.
very standard.
At
Esther Pearl talks
least,
about it a lot.
yeah, at least the dynamic of like in my day-to-day life, I have a pretty dominant personality and I like run
Yeah.
shit and whatever. And I would rather in the bedroom be more submissive and be bossed around. Like something as simple as that is definitely,
Yeah.
I find that to be true. Um,
Hmm.
isn't there a person named Justin Flowers?
Justin Flowers.
I
Justin
actually
Flowers.
don't know if that's a person.
I feel like vaguely that sounds like something, but I don't think it's Justin Flowers. Is
Brandon
it?
Flowers.
Oh wait, I actually know what you're talking about. How can we ever Google this? Man name
Oh, there's Justin
Flowers.
Fields.
Wait, no, there's
Okay.
something with flowers.
And then there's Brandon Flowers.
Brandon Flowers?
He's the Oh, he's in the Killers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Is
used to
he?
think he
Yeah,
was
he
kind of
is.
hot. Brandon
Were
Flowers.
you at so my first concert was the Killers in the 8th grade at Meriwether Post
Oh,
Pavilion in Maryland.
yeah.
Were you there? No, you weren't there.
No, I wasn't there. That's
We
such a
went to a
specific question.
few we went to a few 9:30 club concerts together though. One time I lost my earring.
Oh,
You were
that's
there.
funny. I was
Yeah.
there. I don't remember any of this.
You,
I
me, and
black out.
Sheila went to a concert at the 9:30
Mm.
Club, which I think it still exists in DC.
What was it? Yeah, it does.
It was probably Fallout Boy or something like that.
What? I don't think I was
You
there.
don't think you went to that? It could have been something
No.
else, but I feel like
Beyonce.
you were
We went to
there.
a I
We
think we
went to
went to a
Beyonce.
Beyonce. We went to Beyonce. No, that just made me laugh so hard when you were like, "Were you there?" Because to me, it sounded like, "Oh, when I was in the third grade, my family went to Euro Disney. Were you there?" I was like, "No."
No, I just remember it was with a group of girls, and I can't
Oh,
remember who
oh,
all was there.
I thought
Because
you were
my
just
mom,
asking if by coincidence I went to the same thing.
no, no, it was like a group of girls and from our school, and my mom and Justine's dad were the um chaperones, I
That's a
guess.
strong chaperone team. That's a
Yeah,
strong
very
team.
opposite people
That
actually. My mom is like way more buttoned up and he was a pretty chill dad.
that's
And
funny.
yeah, we went to this concert and it was like at this venue that has a big field around it and lots of people getting drunk and smoking weed and all the things. And we were like 12 with our parents and my mom was shocked that we were going to this place to see a band called The Killers. That was like a really disturbing fact that she had voluntarily signed up to bring her daughter to this like weed infested concert venue for a band called The Killers. But it was cool of her and that was my first concert.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet. First
I
concert.
so that's so Brandon Flowers. Thanks so much for that experience and
Brandon
memory.
Flowers. My
Justin
first
Flowers.
concert, Justin Flowers. I still feel like there's another man named Flowers, but my first concert was Green Day. I think also eighth grade, maybe ninth grade with Sheila. And I went to this concert, first concert. I remember being I remember being chided a little bit. I think I wore a skirt to a Green Day concert and then I was told that wasn't very cool. But and
What are
so
you
I was
supposed
at
to wear? Like
I don't know,
jeans?
like jeans or something. But I hated my thighs so much and I felt like I was always trying to dress to still to this day I'm always trying to dress around like to make myself feel better about my body and like the things I don't like about my body, things I do like. And then people always had an issue with how I dressed to make myself feel better. That's actually a big
Oh, interesting.
it's a big theme I have that is even continued today on YouTube. Like I in my life, like I'll wear a lot of like crop tops and like showier upper body things because and I've also talked about this on YouTube how like we all have a body insecurity usually. It's very common. And I try to just like focus on the thing that makes me feel confident. You feel confident about your legs, you dress up your legs. I feel confident more about my torso. I'm usually trying to hide my legs, show my torso and I've never like publicly been like, wow, my torso is better than yours. Mine is so great. Fucking look at me. I'm just trying to dress to make myself feel less unconfident. And people, received a lot of feedback that people hate it.
Hate that you're showing off your torso. That's
Yeah,
because they are insecure about their torsos.
she's trying to rub this in her face. She can't get over the
Yeah.
fact that she, and I'm like, I have never said anything complimentary about my body to probably to anyone. I
Yeah.
think the only thing I've ever said was all the things I struggle with and how I'm trying to focus on um as I think anybody should, like how what's the way that you can dress to make yourself feel more confident. That's all I've ever tried to do. And then I get this weird feedback of people, not all the time, but I've heard it from people being like, that's obnoxious.
Wow.
It's
I
so
mean,
weird to me.
because
It's actually really upsetting.
what people focus on is that what you're showing, what you are more confident about that you're highlighting is probably something that they're insecure about. They're not realizing, oh, but she's doing that because she has this different insecurity.
I'm
She,
not
like
doing it
everyone
for
else,
anyone
has an
else.
insecurity. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's trying to feel her best, knowing that
Ugh.
she maybe is insecure about this part of her body and maybe feels good
Yeah.
about this part of her body. We all do that. But if you have a different part of your body that,
Totally.
like I'm not confident in my torso. That's not what I'm showing off. I'm actually showing off my legs and my butt and stuff more for what I'm confident about. And so I could definitely look at, I don't think of you this way, but I could definitely look at a person who is showing off their torso more and be jealous and be like, oh, wow, they look so good. They're so confident in that. And you don't think about how they have a different insecurity. It's just like,
Like
that's
everybody
clearly not what
does.
they're showing off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think like I used to get that comment. That comment would pop up once or twice on YouTube. He'd like, "Don't you have any full length shirts? Don't you have any longer shirts?" And I used to like it made me feel bad. It made me feel self-conscious, and I would like make a couple jokes about it in videos. And
Mm,
then it cropped up again recently, and the more I've thought about it, I'm like, that really makes me angry. That feels so unfair to me. There's like this theoretically supportive attitude of like everyone should dress to make themselves feel good, and then I'm shitted on for doing what makes me feel good. I'm
right.
not trying to rub anything in anyone's face. I think there's also something about the midriff and the torso that feels like more private body. So maybe people react
Mm,
like I don't think if someone had like super um envy invoking legs, whatever the fuck that looks like,
mhm.
and they were always showing off their legs with super short shorts or super short skirts or dresses, I don't think you'd get that comment quite as much, even though they might be doing the exact same fucking thing I'm doing, which is like maybe they are trying to hide their arms they don't like and they're trying to
Right.
emphasize the feature they do feel confident about. But I've gotten this comment from different sources over and over in my life, and it has always made me feel like a piece of shit. And only until recently have I realized like that's really unfair. And I'm actually really pissed about it. And I think it's misogynistic and I think it
Mhm.
sucks. The end. That's my
Yeah,
rant.
it does suck. It's like the fact that people feel like they can comment on anyone's body is
I'm
just,
like, how is that progress? You're still
yeah,
commenting on me on what my body looks like?
right. Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
commenting positive, negative, what you wear, like somebody wearing something to make themselves look good and feel good is then like an
That's what
assault.
everyone is doing. That's what
Right.
fucking everyone is
Yeah, how are
doing.
you not doing that yourself? That actually,
Jesus
it
Christ.
really doesn't connect. That's why it's just so rooted in jealousy.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
mind blowing. I
It's
hate
like
it.
keep
I
your
think
jealousy to yourself.
it gets to me that like, well, it's one thing to feel jealous. Jealousy, if that's what the feeling is, it's like relatable and human and everyone has it. It's another thing to act on it and to
Yeah.
assume that I think what pisses me off is this subtext underneath that comment of like, "Ugh, you're always showing us your midriff," or like, why aren't your shirts full length?" Or dress a little more. The subtext is I'm morally superior to you because I wouldn't show my midriff. And I want to
Yeah.
say I'm morally superior to fucking you because I'm not a bully. And
Hmm.
um and hilariously, I actually wear revealing clothes way more in real life than I do on YouTube. I almost always film in a sweatshirt now because I've gotten that feedback. I've heard that comments
Wow.
enough and it's fucked with my head enough that I like dress like a homeless person on YouTube now. It's gotten to me so much and I'm like I actually dress up way the fuck more in my real life. I'm not doing
Yeah.
this for the camera. I'm not doing this at all. In fact, I'm dressing down for the camera.
Yeah.
This is sorry, I just ranted so hard, but I've been so fired up about this and I've been like brewing in me.
No, I'm so amazed that that's feedback that you've gotten enough to have created a change in
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, I've gotten it actually. It was not just from YouTube. I've heard comments before from friends, quote unquote, um, probably every year, every age of my life.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't
pisses
understand
me
that.
off.
I
It
never
pisses me off
comment.
now.
I can pretty confidently say that I don't comment on other people's bodies or clothes choices. It's like if you ask me for my
Yeah,
opinion on an outfit, like which shirt should I wear, I'll tell you, but
totally.
that's different.
Yeah.
Um,
I've been made fun of a lot for what
are
I
these
wear. And
people who
I've
are
just
doing
thought
this?
like,
I don't know. There's so many things that I'm like, why are you not understanding? First of all, even if you were dressing up for the camera, even if you were trying to look particularly good for YouTube, which I understand that you weren't, and now you dress down even more, but
right. Even if I
why is
was,
that a
is
bad
that a
thing?
fucking crime? Is that a fucking
You're
crime?
about to be viewed by thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you do want to look better.
Ugh.
I'm not gonna look how I look on my ugly night when we record the podcast. Like,
And
I
you
am
know
gonna
what?
put some
I
makeup on.
I actually don't anymore. I literally just filmed a video with like all my acne's out. I didn't do my hair.
Yeah.
I'm in sweatpants the whole time and like and it's
But you
it's
know what?
funny cuz I'm trying to relay something real and that actually is never how I present myself. I
Yeah.
always do my hair. I always put on a cute outfit like
But
to
guess
be
what?
seen by
On the other
people.
side of things,
So
you could
stupid.
very easily get a comment or streams of comments of people being like, couldn't she have tried a little bit harder? Like, why
And
does
I do.
she,
And I do get those comments totally.
So it's like on whatever side of the spectrum that you're not going to please everyone.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get comments on how you look. And that is like the most unbelievable thing. It's like, okay, I'm just trying to, are you listening to the words I'm saying? Or like, actually, if you
Right.
don't even like the video, just go watch a different video. Like, that
Yeah.
will never cease to amaze me. But, you
Ooh,
know,
let me see. I got a really, really spicy one recently. I'm gonna fucking read this to you.
okay.
Hold on. This was a comment I got on YouTube on some old design videos. Some old design video. I just happened to see this one. Somebody goes, well, that was quick. Design tip, your first tip is so not for me. I seriously liked the before picture without those awkward looking pink drapes a whole lot better, as in very much indeed. Those curtains ruined a nice airy space and made it look dull and old fashioned. So I guess this channel is not a channel for me. By the way, did you forget to dress yourself? Why are you filming in your undershirt? Is that fashion now? Can we ditch that quote fashion? It's me. I'm like in a tank top. It's literally a
Yeah.
tank top. And I replied, I did reply, and I just said, totally reasonable for the channel not to be for you.
Yeah.
I'd only ask that next time you comment, please consider more respectful language. I'm a human. Thank you. And they still replied, well, I consider it rude to appear half naked. You might be more respectful towards the audience. We are also human, you know. Thank you. I mean,
What a crazy person.
obviously this is a crazy person, but it's like, of course, these comments come up, and just if you get me in the right mood, I'm about to get my
Yeah.
period, dog. If you get me in the right mood, I think it used to really hurt my feelings, and like only recently have I evolved to be like, you're really. Speaking of ugly, you're an ugly person. That is an ugly person.
I'm I'm stunned by people who take the time to write something like that. Nobody's forcing you to watch it. I just don't
I
understand. Nobody's
know.
forcing you. Also, I mean, is she going around and commenting this on every piece of content anywhere? Because you're going to see a woman in a tank top anywhere. You're also going to see a woman in a bikini top with her boobs out
It
anywhere.
was
Like
really
this is
wild.
2024. We have social media and everybody's wearing whatever they want as they should. And is she policing everyone or does she have something specifically to say about you? Like, I want to know. That's what I want to know with these things is like, I want to look at that person's comment history and what other YouTubers they've commented on and said similar things, or what's a YouTuber that they really like. Or like, I just want
Totally,
to,
totally.
like, what perspective are you coming from? Like, this
Can
is
I can I
bizarre.
send you I just sent you a screenshot of the video she's talking about and the outfit I'm wearing in it.
Oh, I remember this video. It's like an early video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an old
Okay,
video.
you're wearing a fucking tank top.
I'm wearing a tank top, like a normal tank top. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It obviously shows that people are crazy. And of course, comments like that come with being on the internet. I don't think it's special. I don't think I need to start an activism cause for this.
Mhm.
It's more like the theme that it reveals to me about obviously people's comments on bodies And I think we talk a lot about like how we comment on how we talk about somebody who's bigger bodies or diverse bodies or disabled bodies, or we need to like change the way we talk about like all the kinds of bodies there are. And then weirdly, I still feel like I'm receiving shit for showing my torso in 2024. I'm fucking over
Yeah.
it.
Uh, this is, I mean, it comes full circle to the beginning of the episode a little bit of how I was saying that um, I bought a camera and like, I don't know if I explicitly said this in the episode, but I want to try out vlogging, which I've wanted to try
Yes.
out for a long time. I've wanted to
Yes.
try it for a long time. I've been watching YouTube for a long time.
For the longest
Um,
time.
yeah, like probably 10 years of being like an avid YouTube watcher. And especially since starting the podcast and like getting to hear more of the background of being a YouTuber from Caroline and all of that, I've felt um like this is even more exciting to me and feels even more tangible to me and I would love to try it, but it still took me a really long time from like beginning of podcast to now to be like, okay, I am going to try it finally. And
Yeah.
I remember telling you, even when we started the podcast and started posting our episodes on YouTube, because we maybe didn't start that until like episode 20 or something. Um, I remember saying, like, I'm just nervous that people will comment on the way that I look because I know you could be the most gorgeous person in the world with the most ideal body type in the world, according to, beauty standards, and people will still comment on it, let
Yeah.
alone being somebody who, you know, I think I'm hot, I think I'm cute, I think I'm pretty, whatever, but I'm not the beauty standard and I have a bigger, curvier body and the camera adds 10 pounds and whatever else. And I was really, really nervous about it when we first started posting
Mm,
on YouTube. And luckily, at least not from what I've seen, but I barely pay attention to those comments. I think we have a great community here that's at least at this point,
mm-hmm.
just a size where it's like people who like and support us and are similar to us and like aren't going to make those types of comments. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
nervous about starting to vlog and like how that will change the comments that I'm seeing and the comments that I'm getting.
Yeah.
And it's like one I can handle comments about the things I say almost more because I am very confident in like my mind and my intentions and my ability to communicate and like represent my point of view while being respectful to others. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't mean I won't ever mess up, but I can
You
back
feel
myself
confident in that.
on the
Yeah.
things I say way more than body comments. Like I've worked a long time to be able to get to a decent place with my body, but I still have weeks. Last week I had a whole mental breakdown about my body and it had nothing to
Mm-hmm.
do with YouTube. It just was something that I was personally going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something that I'm like bracing for of just like people like that crazy lady. And you can tell yourself they're a crazy person, but it's easier to talk yourself out of believing a crazy person when it's something, at least for me, when it's something that I've said versus how I look. Because how you look is more like
Yeah.
there's a standard for it that we all celebrate or don't versus what you say. I don't know. I don't know how to articulate what I'm
Yeah, I
getting
I
at.
think it's like I don't think it's a static thing like what you say versus how you look. I think it's what's your personal relationship to that thing.
Yeah.
And um actually if someone comments on my body and says my body's ugly, which they do and they have, that doesn't really get to me because I'm like, well, that's a crazy person. Like picturing someone saying that in real life is like truly insane.
Yeah.
But what I am really sensitive to is someone um indicting my goodness, someone
Yeah.
indicting my morality or my intentions, that I am very, very sensitive to. And I don't think I think that's like that's it. Yeah, it's a huge sensitivity for me. So to
Yeah.
me, the like commenting on the how dare you wear midriff, so like it's not a body thing. It's the implication is that
Mm,
you're being a bad person, you're being an obnoxious person, you're being a show-offy person or an egotistical person or a self-absorbed person. That's what gets to me.
yeah.
The implication that I'm a bad person. And that's I don't even want to call it an insecurity because at my heart I think I'm a good person, but it is something that I am constantly having to battle with like in my own head. It's a great way to get to me. Call me a
Mm-hmm.
bad person. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, even
Yeah.
if it's something about your physical
Right.
appearance.
That's not what gets to me. It's
Yeah.
the because when I got that comment, it never made me feel bad about my body. It made me feel bad about like I must be a bad person.
Yeah.
And I very effectively for many years I've gotten that. I must be a bad person for the way I dress. And
Mm.
decades, literally decades. And only recently have I begun to be like, I think in my head, I started being like, oh, but I'm dressing that way because I feel so unconfident about my body. And I'm just trying to feel good, like everybody says we're all deserved to feel.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, hold the fuck on. And I've only gotten in touch with this anger about it recently. And it feels like a
Mm.
very healthy anger.
That's good. Anger is so
Yeah.
productive. I always think that, like,
Yes.
so much better than being sad or being hurt is like
It's
when you
more
can generate
fun.
anger from it. It's definitely more fun, and like,
Yeah.
you're responsible enough to like use your anger in smart ways. Even the way you responded to her was like, you were angry, you said something, but it wasn't disrespectful. It was asking her to be more
Yeah.
respectful, so like there's a way to channel that
Anger can be very
when you're
healthy.
sad and heartbroken and whatever, you can't.
in
Dude.
um in ep- in episode 57 you had a great quote about anger, which I know only because Justin is still catching up on episodes and he listened to 57 yesterday and he always texts me his reactions.
Yeah.
And number one on his notes for episode 57, he put in quotes from Jess, anger is the most revitalizing experience. And he was like, oh, I'm with Jess on this one.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he
I
loved that. And I forgot that you'd said that, but I was like, that was a great quote. That was a
That's
great
so
Jess
funny.
quote.
I don't remember saying that, but it does align with my belief
Yeah.
system. I'm like, what episode was that? Okay. Oh, I was
57.
spiraling. This is when I was spiraling. Yeah, that was a good time in the life of Jess. A good
Oh
time in the
no.
podcast too.
Oh,
Yeah, but
okay.
no, I do think it's right. I do think it's right. I think like I would rather be angry. If you're angry, then you care, and like that's much better for me than feeling like I can't do anything about this and I'm weak and I'm complacent, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean. One is passive, one is active.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
That happened.
We've been talking a lot, y'all.
Yeah, I did it. I don't know how I like my new camera. Maybe it'll look better when Caroline gets a matching one, or maybe I'll have
Yeah.
to mess with the settings, but I feel like this
I feel
fisheye is
like
weird.
I feel like the quality is good, but it has made you teeny tiny on the screen. So now you're farther away. And I feel like if we zoom in to get you close up, it's going to be bad quality, grainy footage again.
You think? I was thinking that
I
maybe we
mean, I
should
don't
crop
know.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
we should crop it because you're like too far away. But what I really want, are you able to sit any closer to the camera?
I'm very close.
You're really close. You're
Like
like tit
the
to laptop.
laptop is like a hand away from my
Okay.
chest.
I think this is what you need to do. This
This
looks
looks
normal
normal.
to
So
me.
I have to sit like I have to get a setup so that my table and chairs can be like this.
Yeah. I don't
It
know if
feels
this is an
very
internal
unnatural.
conversation right now. Okay. So yeah,
This is internal,
we can
probably.
try. We can
The
also look at
beginning of it can
settings,
stay.
but I'm going to compare afterwards. We'll compare the footage of you at this point. You don't look like warped or fish-eyed, if that's what you're wondering. The room behind you, I think the farther back in the room
Yeah,
looks
looks
warped, but
warped.
you to me don't look warped.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like where I'm sitting right now. I see on the screen how like I look more
Oh,
similar to you, but I don't think that this is like a way that I can record.
sustainable. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So we'll have to play with
Yeah.
it.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Take us home.
Whoa, that's a podcast. Everybody, we did it. We did it. I talked the whole time and you, I don't know, you'll never get that
Worshipped.
time back. You you worshipped, probably not, but you'll never get that time back. I promise you. I'm gonna try and do like one call out per the end of the episode so people don't just like tune us out at the end all the time with a long list. Um, this time I'm gonna say leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Make it 5 stars or GTFO. Write something silly and we'll read it on the pod. And thanks to Abby Newhouse for editing this episode. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.
Hee hee hee.